Hello and welcome to this new weekly catch-up show where I will recap all the biggest film and TV news that has come out this week. For the first segment, I will start by covering the TV news. Early last week, it was announced that Emma Stone and her husband, Dave McCary, and their production company, Fruit Tree, have signed a first-look TV deal with distributor Fremantle, taking over from their previous deal with A24. This means that any TV that Fruit Tree produces, Fremantle will be the first distributors to see that product and project and decide whether to take that on and distribute it or shop it elsewhere. Their previous work includes The Curse from Showtime and Phantasmas that can be seen on HBO. Moving on to another announcement that Renee Zellweger has joined the cast of SAG award-winning comedy Only Murders in the Building for Series 5, joining other A-list newcomers which include Christoph Waltz, Tia Leone and Keegan-Michael Key. Onto a shocking story coming from Netflix. They have begun casting on an 8-episode live-action Scooby series from Berlanti Productions. The Netflix show You was also made by Berlanti Productions. The new Scooby-Doo series is described as: during their final summer at camp, old friends Shaggy and Daphne get embroiled in a haunting mystery surrounding a lonely lost Great Dane puppy that may have been a witness to a supernatural murder. Together with the pragmatic and scientific townie Velma and the strange but ever so handsome new kid Freddy, they set out to solve the case that is pulling each of them into a creepy nightmare that threatens to expose all the secrets. This is obviously the first live-action Scooby-Doo since James Gunn's version in the early 2000s. Some smaller TV stories this week include Eva Longoria producing an adaptation of the Capo Crusett novel Say Hello to My Little Friend. Watson on CBS has been renewed for a second series. Yet a Yellowstone spin-off show featuring Luke Grimes reprising his role as Casey Dutton is being shopped around. Popular YouTube dating show has landed at Netflix with a live version to host on the service, with Yvonne Orji set to host. This is the balloon popping dating show, and Netflix will produce a live version. Ryan Reynolds' production company has signed a first-look deal with 20th Century Television, which further ties his brand to the Disney name. A docu-series about the Kansas City Chiefs American football team has been ordered at ESPN and Disney+. The Dexter prequel series, Dexter Original Sin, has been renewed for a second series, while Phoebe Waller-Bridge renews and upgrades her deal with Amazon, now making it a first-look deal instead of an exclusive overall deal, meaning that now she is able to shop around her ideas and her scripts to other companies if Amazon decides to pass up. The DC Lanterns show has announced that Chris Coy will be added to the cast, and that Nathan Fillion will be reprising his role from Superman, which comes out later this year, as Guy Gardner. That is pretty much all of the TV news that has come out this week, so we will move on to the film stories this week. It was announced early this week that Barry Jenkins will team up with A24 for a Ronnie Spector biopic, with the music legend handpicking Zendaya to play her before her death in 2022. It was announced that Julie Delpy of the Before trilogy has joined the upcoming Ruben Östlund movie The Entertainment System is Down, and she is joining an already stacked ensemble cast. That includes Kirsten Dunst, Daniel Bruhl, Keanu Reeves, Nicholas Braun and Tobias Menzies. This production is set on a long-haul flight between England and Australia, where the entertainment system fails and passengers are forced to face the horror of being bored. Tyler Perry Studios has set up a new Dream Collective program designed to identify and cultivate the new wave of filmmakers, particularly set to represent those under-recognised and underrepresented voices. This program will include making a short film whilst giving filmmakers unprecedented access to experts, training and support whilst making those short films. The next Scorsese movie might land at a surprising home, as Disney is reported to be circling around the next Scorsese crime drama set in Hawaii in the 70s. The film already has attached to it Leonardo DiCaprio, Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson set to star. The future Sony and Nintendo co-production live-action Legend of Zelda movie got a release date, which is set for March 26, 2027. Maze Runner director Wes Ball is set to direct. Warner Brothers has completed the sale of previously cancelled finished movie Coyote vs. Acme, with Ketchup Entertainment confirming that they have completed a deal for the worldwide rights for the live-action animated hybrid film, which is now expected for a theatrical release in 2026. It was announced that Sydney Sweeney is in final negotiations to star in a live-action Gundam film set at Legendary, the studio behind the Monsterverse. CinemaCon this week came with a mountain of announcements and trailers that you can search for. Some of the big headlines though include that Spider-Man 4 will be titled Spider-Man Brand New Day and is set for release on July 31st, 2026. The Beatles movies, yes, that is movies, their casting was announced with Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Joseph Quinn as George Harrison, Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr and Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. All we know at the minute is that Sam Mendes is set to direct all 4 films, with each one focused on each Beatles' life, with all 4 being set for release in April 2028. The John Wick franchise got major updates at CinemaCon, with John Wick 5 being announced, with it also being announced that Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski will return. And as well as this, Donnie Yen announced that he was directing and starring in his character's spin-off, with the movie set to start production later this year. We move on to this week's 2 biggest film stories, and one of them is genuinely not an April Fool's joke, and that is that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will be getting a sequel. Netflix has decided to pick up the script that Quentin Tarantino has written, with David Fincher set to direct. Brad Pitt is going to be returning as the lead as his Oscar-winning character Cliff Booth. Leonardo DiCaprio is still in talks to reprise his role, but as a supporting character. This week's biggest story, and it's undeniably the biggest story, was that a 5.5-hour live stream that announced the upcoming cast of Avengers Doomsday. The names included Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Wyatt Russell as US Agent, Tina Huerta as Namor, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Sebastian Stan as the White Wolf, Letitia Wright as Black Panther, Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Thing, Kelsey Grammer as Beast, Lewis Pullman as Sentry, Danny Ramirez as Falcon, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, David Harbour as the Red Guardian, Winston Duke as M'Baku, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Sir Ian McKellen back as Magneto, James Marsden as Cyclops, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, Channing Tatum as Gambit, Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, and finally Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. This announcement obviously shocked the world as it revealed that many of the Fox X-Men from the early 2000s will return. This also set speculation at an all-time high, as it is now rumoured that this film will secretly be an Avengers vs X-Men movie in disguise. This announcement also faced some backlash as it left out some notable names from the MCU and the Fox X-Men universe. Those names include Tatiana Maslany and Mark Ruffalo as the MCU Hulks, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Charlie Cox's Daredevil, with probably the biggest backlash coming from Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch being missing. The Fox names missing included Halle Berry as Storm and Famke Janssen as Jean Grey. Some names that were missing but previously announced to be returning by Deadline include Chris Evans and Hayley Atwell. Well, that is all the biggest news stories from TV and film this week. Thank you for watching and recapping. All stories can be found on Deadline, Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, as these are the sources for this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and thank you for watching.